let's get the process laid out for us. What
Yeah.
is your writing process? So you're talking about we're writing messages, we're writing video content, we're writing teaching content, we're writing curriculum, all that type of stuff. What is
Yeah.
your process for writing? Just lay it out for us.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've written everything from feature films that you've never watched because they're like
Mm,
indie films that nobody can see. I have them digitally, all the way through, 5 minute, like a little TED talk. And so the process for me is always the same. I'll talk specifically about if you're giving a talk somewhere or if you're doing whatever, 15 to 45-minute talk. Ideally, my process is pretty simple. I like to have a 10-day runway for every new talk that I write, minimum of 10 days. That's kind of like my cap. I can do it shorter. I can, if we want to talk about how that, I know one of your questions was about how it changes. It's the only time my process changes is if I don't have the 10-day runway. But typically, I like to have 10 days to prep a new topic. The part one, I consume tons of content about that particular topic. Doesn't matter
mm,
what it is. So if I'm doing a leadership talk for an organization, I did a leadership talk for an organization in South Africa a couple of weeks ago via Zoom, of course. And so I asked them, what topic do you want me to cover? They told me the topic, and I consumed as much content as I could, whether it's
mm.
content I've already read. So I'm pulling books, I'm pulling articles, I'm pulling TED Talks, pulling whatever. I can just consume, and
That's
then I
day
rest.
10.
That's day 10. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
so
day
if we're
10.
working back 10 all the way to the release
All the way
day.
to one. Yeah.
Okay,
So
day
day
10.
10, I'm consuming as much content as I possibly can on that
That's so
particular
good.
topic.
Yeah.
And then I don't do anything the next day with that particular topic. I
Okay.
rest because I want the content. I typically, what I do the next day, if I'm honest about it, I kind of talk about it. I kind of bounce those ideas without anybody knowing about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, what do you think about?
Hmm.
Uh,
It's
and
conversational.
so, yeah, I just begin to kind of like formulate what do I actually think about it, because
Mm,
then I'm not taking somebody else's content. I'm beginning to process and then create. And then I come back the next day. So this is day 8 now, and I write a full talk. I go
mm.
from beginning to end as best I can. Now there might be holes or gaps or like I'm going to add in something like, but as best I can,
It's just
I
a
come back, I
complete
write a
unedited, just
whole
a
talk.
mind dump,
Yeah,
right?
could be an
Yeah.
outline. It could be I want to make sure this specific statement is read. I'm going to add any quotes that I wanted. I'm just going to put everything I can into that talk, and then I walk away. Maybe for a day or two, I don't look at it again. So I come back maybe on day 5. So I'm 5 days out from delivering the talk,
Hmm.
and I come back fresh now because I haven't looked at it in
Yeah.
a couple of days. And
Yeah.
so now I'm able to go. Maybe I had an idea come to my brain, or I had a cool illustration or whatever. I dump all that in there, and then I work the whole thing. I work my intro specifically, make sure that the introduction is like a whole nother talk at the end of it all. So I work the introduction because that's what's going to capture the audience,
Yeah.
and then I work everything else out. I make sure that it flows. If I'm going to put this here, that there, this is where I do that part. And
Wow.
then over the course of the next few days, I practice. I
Mm,
just say it out loud as many times as I possibly can. Typically in front of a mirror. If I can talk it in front of somebody else, whether you're around or if I can find somebody else. Hey, I want to just talk you. I don't tell you what's happening. I just talk you through it. Maybe I go, hey, does this make sense or does this compute?
yeah.
So then when I get to day 2, I'm 2 days out from giving the talk. I don't look at it again.
Wow.
I don't I want to think about it. I give myself 24 to 36 hours to just not put it in my brain, and then I come back the last 12 hours before the talk and I put it all back in again, and then I deliver the talk. So typically, if I have 10 days, it's the best. Can I do this shorter? Yeah, it'll feel
Feel
different.
rushed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll feel different to me. It'll feel different to the audience. At the end of the day, it won't be as I'll come off the. Typically, what happens if I rush the process, I come off the stage and I go, man, I wish I would have added that part in. Like I
Yeah.
probably, if I had another day, would have thought about that or had a
Yeah.
conversation or whatever else. And so there are things I add in. I gave a talk at the beginning of the year on Cal versus Buffalo,
Yeah. I was
and
going to bring that up.
yeah, I didn't have. I had the whole talk written, and on Friday, I gave a talk on Sunday. I gave a message on Sunday. Friday night, I watched this thing on Facebook that came through, and I was like, "Oh man, that's a good illustration, Cal versus Buffalo." So I began to research buffaloes, and cows and began to do all the work. And then I went and bought a buffalo, and I had a cow already because I love Chick-fil-A.
A real
And
buffalo.
a real buffalo. Yeah, I wish.
Yeah.
And I added that into the talk. That
Stuffed
was
with
added.
buffalo.
Yeah, that was added like 24 hours for the talk, but it was honestly the sticky point of the whole message. And
Yeah.
so, I wouldn't have thought about that 10 days ago if I delivered the talk, if I thought about it. You know what I mean? Like, so you have to have that ability to constantly be thinking about what am I about to be talking about. One of the great communicators that I follow said that they just create a file folder of topics and things that stick out to them, and
Mm,
that way they can always go back to it whenever they're like, man, I need a illustration on blank, or I want to write something on blank. They kind of
mm,
always have kind of buckets to pull from. So
that's
I've
great.
always tried to do that. I just try to pull buckets instead of having to pull kind of brand new content. That just requires the work pre-labor. Like, what goes into the process has to be, what do you do before that starts? Which means you
Yeah.
have to be reading, watching, consuming. You have to be willing to kind of pour it all in, because then you'll have some fresh content to pull back out.